embedding chips inside of apparel and accessories. And a chip is basically a little, looks like a little sticker, but when you tap it with your phone, it actually will launch an experience on your device.
All right, everyone, welcome back to SALESBIZ. I appreciate you taking the time as always. Before we kick off our episode today, I need you all to do me a huge solid and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel. If you find value out of this specific episode, go ahead and drop some comments down below. Today, my guest started his sales career in telecom and the tech space, but then eventually pivoted to starting his own business, an interactive merchandise agency. I'm very excited to have him join us today and share his insight and overall journey. Mr. Rich Stein. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, how are you? Good to be here. Good to be here.
To have you. Thanks for taking the time, bud.
So,
first question, Rich, I'm kind of asking everyone these days is, how are you holding up in this crazy times that we're living in right now?
yeah, it's pretty nuts. I got two teenage girls, well, 15 and 12, two dogs, a wife, a white picket fence here in Southern California. Just trying to go with it, try to go with the flow and be positive and be innovative and evolve and not go too nuts. So, but trying to be a good citizen, trying to, support what we need as a people to keep each other safe and, trying to get through. I see some optimism here now with the vaccines coming out. So hopefully, I think one challenge we all had was, I think, lack of a plan, lack of optimism in a sense. And I think, as we turn the corner here into 2021, I'm seeing a lot of that. And now we actually can have a plan, if you will, on, okay, getting back out there. So, I think hopefully other than us being in a dark time now for the next 30, 60 days with a lot of the impact coming, I think, as we look past that, I think there's, good things going to be happening. So.
Absolutely. I love how you brought up the white picket fence, by the way. That's a killer.
Literally, it's funny. There is a white picket fence, but it's what's that? There was a movie about that back in the day. It's like, oh, the white picket fence, and Truman with Gary. Anyway,
love it. And as long as we're healthy, right? I think that's what matters all these days. Family is, of course, important, but we can't take care of family without health. So I'm glad you and I are smiling ear to ear right now. So, Rich, I was enamored with your background. Let's get into it. You mentioned you have a little bit of telecom experience starting off. Talk a little bit about when you got out of college. How'd you dive into that?
Yeah, I went to Cal State Long Beach and, didn't really know what I wanted to do other than I was a speech communications marketing minor. And thought I had a lot of buddies in the fraternity who went to go work for a telecom company, basically selling long distance phone service. Didn't know what it was other than when you first got out of college, if you want to go sell, you either sell copiers, you sell telecommunications. That was kind of the choice. My buddies went into telecom. I moved back up to San Francisco and basically interviewed with the company that was out of South San Francisco. And just thought it was cool. A bunch of young people kind of, just learning the ropes, trying to, work hard and learn sales skills, get a lot of training. So I thought that was an important component to kind of be molded from a sales perspective. Also do something that was pretty aggressive and really out there to really learn how to think on your feet. So started working for a company called AllNet, which became Frontier Communications. That's kind of how it started.
Love it. Did you know that right out of college you were going to get into a sales position? Is that what you or your buddies kind of had in mind, or?
Well, I mean, I first was selling shoes at Nordstrom's in my last semester, and I met a guy who basically was a realtor. He's like, "Hey, you got a great personality. You sold me a pair of shoes. Like, I want to pay for you to go to real estate school, and you come work for me after college." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I'll go get a real estate license." And when I had to go work for him, he was just crazy. He was just like a nut. He lived in Temecula, which was like an hour and a half from where I was. So I'd go into the office, and he wouldn't get there till 3 or 4, even though I was there at 8 a.m. Then he'd get there at 4, and he was just all over the place. And I'm like, this is a nice guy, and I appreciate him giving me an opportunity to maybe, work for him. But I needed structure. I needed someone who's going to, be able to train me and mold me. And that's where my buddies when I was doing that, were working in the telecom space and like, oh, you get to come work here. It's fun. It's, a bunch of young people were out there. And so at that point, yeah, I knew I was going to go into sales. I wasn't like a finance major, wasn't a engineer, wasn't anything like that. It's like I pretty much could speak and I could, communicate and I could, connect with people. So it was kind of like, okay, really the only thing I can do is go sell or be part of marketing. So let me go do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, two scary words in our household is Nordstrom card. My wife is a fanatic. And, I talked to a couple of those salespeople while she's trying on 40, 50 pairs of shoes, and they make a good living, man. Commission wise, I was like, wow, sell a
Yeah.
couple of Ferragamos here and there. You got yourself a nice check over there. So must have sold them a hell of a pair to take him under your wing, take you under his wing like that.
Well, yeah, I didn't know anything about it other than I just stood by the expensive shoes. I figured if someone who knows expensive shoes knows that they know what they want. I just have to go grab them. And my big sales line was, how do they feel? And if they said good, I'm like, all right, hopefully I did my job there. But it was fun to do that. But
Yeah, not bad. So did you have to leave your job in order to go work with him, or were you kind of managing the two?
well, no, with him it was like during college, right towards the end of college.
Got
So
it.
he basically paid. So I went to go work for him, and it was just that was my full-time gig working with him. And then I'm from the Bay Area, so and I was down in Long Beach doing this. And then I figured, plus I still living in the fraternity area with my buddies, and I was like, look, I graduated college. I have to like kind of get myself out of this environment. So it was made sense. And all my sisters lived up in the San Francisco Bay Area inside San Francisco City. So I was like, oh, that sounds fun. I'll go move up there, be with them, hang out, and go get a job, and just start a real career in sales.
Love it. So when you started your actual career in sales, did you adopt any sort of methodologies, pick up some books, take on courses?
No, I was pretty green. It was just pretty much they had the 7 steps of the sale at this company. It was all like, I mean, it was they bring you in, you go through like a 2-week training class, every day at a hotel. You come back every morning. It's meeting from 7:30 to 8, sales training. Talk about the prior day's business. And so, I mean, outside of reading the Zig Ziglar book or read a book, those guys. But yeah, really, it was like, hey, I want to adopt the philosophy of what these guys are teaching and the methodology they have in terms of, because it's a unique sale. You basically back then, of course, no internet, nothing other than the only way you got a lead was you walked into someone's office, you knocked on the door, and you asked for the president of the company, and he would come out and they would look at you like you're nuts. And basically, the only way you got a lead was literally to grab his card, and then you had a card filing box, and then you would just go through your cards the next morning, try to call these people. So yeah, it was definitely in your face type of sales where you get kicked out of buildings, security guards coming after you, hiding on floors inside of big skyscrapers in San Francisco, trying to get in there and create opportunities for yourself. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. Guessing it sounds like you didn't enjoy it too much, but learned a lot.
Well, no, you enjoyed it for what it was, but there became a point. I became a sales manager, and I remember after a certain amount of time, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't try to brainwash these kids into thinking like barging into someone's office unannounced, trying to get in there and be aggressive and get their phone bill out. At some point it's just it just grades on you, and then eventually I just had to leave. But yeah, I mean, definitely for the year and a half that you did it, it was amazing in terms of, again, just the ability to think on your feet, not be scared or fearful, knowing that this is aggressive sales, getting out there and you know towing the line between being aggressive and and professional was an interesting element as well. It's kind of learning what your limits are in terms of how aggressive or assertive or what your art is going to be as it relates to your sales process and your methodology.
Yeah. You mentioned Zig Ziglar earlier. Funny story. I was playing with my Audible account and I pulled up, top sales books out there. And I was like, oh, I haven't read this one yet. I pulled it up. I mean, the guys, it sounds like a 1970s radio show, but the guy's voice is just so intoxicating. Like you want to buy something from him. You want to listen to him. He talks so fast, but he goes like this and he goes like that. He kind of like talks like that. What were your takeaways from that book though?
Geez, I couldn't remember other than just the same thing as everybody's in sales, whether you're older or younger. I think say the name Zig Ziglar. It's probably a made up name. I can't imagine that's probably his stage name. Like, can't imagine that's his real name. But just I guess the ability just to know like, hey, I want to learn from one of these older guys. And back then, of course, they're the guys starting off in sales and probably selling the vacuums and the encyclopedias and all those things, and trying to learn from them, tricks of the trade, right?
Yep. My only door-to-door job I ever had, I was working for a knife company, actually. I was, imagine knocking on people's doors and holding a box of knives. It's like, please let me in and have a conversation. That only lasted about 2 weeks. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
it's
yeah,
yeah, the difference between cold calling and door to door to someone's home versus office is pretty drastic. This gal came today to my home and she was trying to sell me something and she wasn't wearing a mask or anything. I'm like, hey, you're gonna be coming to people's houses these days. You got to put a mask on. I'm like, come on now. She was trying to sell me stick. I'm not selling you anything. I'm trying to, save you money on energy. And I was like, I'm not, I don't have, I don't have time for it. But that was my first piece of advice for her is like, look, you're coming to people's houses these days. I mean, one, that's pretty aggressive. Your company's having you do that. Number two, you got to wear a mask. But yeah, I mean, the difference between business to business and going to people's homes is pretty drastic. At least, that's even back then, right?
yeah. That's kind of shocking, man. Like that's literally the first thing that popped up in my head is, wow, is she actually doing that right now, given the worst pandemic in history? Yeah.
Right.
But I don't want to judge either because people are starving right now. They're hungry for a paycheck. So I'd imagine maybe it's, times of desperation, possibly. Not really sure.
Yeah, I got it. My only thing was again, you got to wear a mask. You can't be coming to people's
Yeah,
houses.
I hear you.
Little common
I hear
sense
you.
there too, right?
But it sounds like you have a little bit of that sympathy because you've had that type of position before. So you were a little bit sympathetic to actually having a conversation with her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Once you do it, you kind of you get it. You're at least try to see there. And that was like the first thing from an advice perspective was, you know, uh, you're nuts. You can't be doing this without wearing a mask. And that was my first. And I didn't really get past that because I was like, just come on, that's common sense. But yeah,
I
a
hear
little
you.
bit. Yeah, you definitely have. I was looking at something on LinkedIn today about ghosting, and it was as a salesperson, you deal with that all the time. It's, even now you're like, hey, I just spent some time with somebody and, now they won't respond or they won't do this. And it's just interesting. You're a little more sensitive to that. So now if people are reaching out to me, of course, you don't want to ghost them either. And at least if you're not interested, at least give them some context to it. So at least they can, have some information other than just, you completely ignoring them.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
I always say that you got to pay it forward. I'm actually one of those guys, believe it or not. I'll pick up a cold call at work, with an SDR calling or an AE calling, just trying to fish for someone. I'll be like, look, man, I know what you're doing. Just tell me what you need. I'm in the same game. Who do you need to talk to? I'll let you know right now whether they're interested or not. I'm going to save you some time there. And people call me a little crazy for that. I was like, why are you wasting your time? It's like that could be the next CEO of IBM or the next CEO of Apple or something on the line. Like, got to pay it forward. So maybe that's just me. And I saw you had a little radio and TV curiosity in college. Were you trying to do something along the lines of television or radio, or is that just something you were trying to do in college as a learning experience?
Where did you see that? What was that about?
On your LinkedIn, I'm pretty
Did
sure.
it say radio and TV?
Yeah. Activities is a Monte Vista.
Oh, geez. Yeah, high school. Oh, you mean the local cable news? Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
was the
high school. Wow.
in high school. I think I was the sports guy. I tried to be a sportscaster, so I
Ah,
probably played around with that. But that was just. But it comes into play now when you're trying to do TikTok or most of the content I create is me doing it. Actually, I was on the phone today with a gal who works at the postal annex place, and where I ship a lot of my samples. And I was telling her, I'm like, look, I need some help. Someone who's kind of younger, part of that generation of a lot of the stuff I do. People are getting sick of probably seeing me, old gray haired guy, bald guy, basically showing most of the demos. So, but yeah, I guess that experience back then, kind of led to my ability. I don't know how good I am, but my ability to not be shy, get in front of the camera and do scripts and do videos and that type of stuff. But yeah, that was my experience with that though.
love it. So, out of all the sales positions you had, then you started your own company. I think Esco Gear looks like. Tell us a little bit about how you went from an individual contributor all the way to becoming the
Yeah.
boss of your own company.
Well, I was back in the tech boom of the internet boom, where everyone was going out trying to get stock options and do the .com era. So I probably worked in 1 year. I think I had 3 jobs, and because the companies would go out of business. So you'd go, you'd get trained, and then all of a sudden they would run out of funding, and then you'd go somewhere else. And so after about like a year, I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired of jumping from job to job as a salesperson, even though I've never made more money, because you get the compensation packages for getting let go. And then I had actually, my brother-in-law worked in the promotional marketing space up in the Bay Area, and he was making really good money. And I had a buddy from college who was doing this on the side, basically had a marketing company on the side. So I was like, hey, why don't you come with me? I'll give you half the company, which really wasn't much, but it was, the effect of having half a company already set up. And come try to sell this marketing materials and this merchandise. And you can sell to all the .com people who have all the money, that are going to trade shows, events, and looking to market themselves. So that's kind of how I got in, and it was easy because there was no, basically you're a broker, so you didn't have any inventory, you didn't have any costs, you didn't have any real estate to own in terms of overhead. It was just like basically you're a salesperson, right? But you're brokering other people's product, and so it was a kind of an easy transition to go do that. And then what I liked about it too was, in software and technical sales, usually it's 6 to 12 months for decisions. Maybe they make it once every 2 years. This was basically marketing material, which they were giving away. So if you didn't get the job or the order that time, there was another order around the corner. So you definitely can churn and burn in opportunities. And it wasn't like you put all your eggs in one basket, you didn't get it, and then you're like, okay, well, this client's never going to buy for another 2 years. Basically, you could build a rapport with one client and say, hey, I want to earn part of your business. And, I don't have to get everything, but, allow me to bid on different projects and different opportunities, and then just develop that rapport, knowing that, there was multiple deals every month to get, just a matter of, how well you could, service the client and come up with ideas and that type of thing.
Love it. And it sounds like marketing really struck a fancy with you, because you ended up, after all, starting your own company, Digitize Your Brand. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is the value prop? Who's your target market? And what is it that you're actually working on?
Yeah, well, the marketing material and actually technology fused together. So when I was selling the marketing materials, basically, t-shirts and pens and other types of just branded swag is what they call it. And it was cool, but it wasn't really that innovative or dynamic. And so I kind of felt like I was kind of being too simple with what my career was in terms of what I actually did on a day-to-day basis. So I looked at technology, and I'm like, how is technology going to impact merchandise? And this is apparel, this is print, these are accessories. And I really didn't see much out there. So I thought, well, what if I could fuse the two together and create merchandise that literally was interactive? And so I became friends and partners with a distributor of mine who was doing USB technology. And so we actually came up with an idea to sell an interactive card that you could plug into your computer, and it would launch you to a website. But we called it a buzz card because you want to keep up with the latest buzz with a company. And the way to keep up with the latest buzz is people's websites, right? And so all these people were still giving out brochures and print materials, which you'd go to a trade show and you'd see pretty much everyone throw it away in the garbage because they didn't want to carry it back on the flight. So you had all these materials, and it was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, everyone has a website. Why don't you just get them to the website? So this card, buzz card, became this like conduit that said, oh, just plug this in your computer, and it actually programs to act like a keyboard, and it would bring you right to that website. So you'd walk by someone's booth, they'd give you a buzz card, and you plug it in, and then you get all their catalog or their website, and you didn't have to carry anything other than this little card. So that's how it started, basically creating this this buzz card. And that was a physical product, but it drove a digital experience. And then that got me like really intrigued with this genre of, wow, this interactive materials and merchandising. And then we evolved into what was next. And of course, next is mobile. So what we did was evolved into what we're mostly doing now is embedding chips inside of apparel and accessories. And a chip is basically a little, looks like a little sticker, but when you tap it with your phone, it actually will launch an experience on your device. And so I don't know how well you can see this, but if you see my t-shirt here, I'm going to go ahead and tap it. Let's see. and I just tapped it. It opened YouTube on my phone.
Oh, wow.
Again, I don't know
That's
what
awesome.
you could see that, but basically it was like it's like Apple Pay technology where you tap to pay for something. This is the same element, but I'm embedding this technology inside of merchandise. So apparel and accessories, wristbands, all sorts of merch. And now the brand can literally give this out, and then a consumer, fan, attendee can tap it with their phone and get that direct to mobile experience.
That's
And so,
brilliant.
yeah, thank you, man. And so I'm doing stuff in sports. I just did this for the San Francisco 49ers. I did this wearable wristband, and
Nice.
you tap this, and then it goes to this one goes to Joe Montana's Notre Dame highlights off of the wristband, and so you tap it, and so basically it's there's a lot of interesting things around fan engagement. We're doing some stuff right now for MGM and Jack Daniels around touch-free menus. With COVID not wanting to touch menus and touch things in physical spaces. So there's a touch-free element to this that allows you to not have to touch anything, but use your phone as the conduit to that information or that context of that experience. Anyway, so that's
Right.
really what I've done is taken marketing, right, integrated technology into it, right? And now when I go into places, I have a better story of why they want to use me versus a salesperson who's just selling regular merchandise. Because my
Yeah.
merchandise, if you look at my t-shirt here, it says my t-shirt is smarter than your t-shirt. Right?
I've been wanting to see like you do that. I didn't want to be awkward about it. Like, hey, can I
Yeah.
see your shirt? But
And then
it's brilliant.
and someone's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, my t-shirt launches YouTube. What does your t-shirt do?
Love it. Hey, you know what?
Right?
I'll tell you one thing, Rich. I mean, that's a brilliant idea, by the way. Kudos to you, bud. But that seems so much faster than a QR code. I mean, you literally tap that blindly without opening up your camera or anything like that. So it seems like, is that one of your competitors in this space?
Well, that's an interesting you bring that up because yeah, it's a it is and it isn't, meaning a QR code is pretty simple. Like this is a lot more dynamic. This actually is the backbone of mobile payment. And a big, so it's Apple Pay, it's Google Pay. It's basically, if you've seen those commercials for where someone loses their keys and they tap their car door to get into the car, it's that same technology. That's called NFC. So it has many utilities, and really why it's going to become more interesting for a user, just like you explained, is the frictionless element. The no opening an app, you don't have to open up a camera. It's just automatic. And so we as a society are wanting to become frictionless, right, and touch free. And so this tap technology is tap to pay, tap to access. So access your car, access your hotel. And so what I'm doing is something called tap to interact. And so my platform is called Tap to Interact. And so I create all this merchandise and all these materials. And literally the call to action is, tap to interact with the 49ers, tap to interact with MGM, tap to interact with Jack Daniels. And so the idea is, again, this kind of frictionless element. It's also more sophisticated than a QR code. So there's a lot of smarter things you can do with it in terms of commerce and payment and data. A QR code is very functional in certain simple circumstances. And this, as we talk to more clients in a more dynamic and sophisticated way, this could do more. And so that's why we kind of chose to use this technology to kind of create this element. And lastly, a little company called Apple adopted this in their phone and opened it up completely for these types of experiences. So we're kind of looking at that as almost like a precursor, like, okay, Apple knows something we don't, or so I want to basically build a solution around what Apple knows, and then hopefully I can be successful kind of leveraging Apple. It's also an Android, which is vital as well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of part of my story. When I go to speak to clients, I have to educate them on why is this better than a QR code? Why is this interesting? What's so great about this? And a lot of it is, well, look, Apple's $1 trillion company. If they're putting something in their phone that's creating this function, we need to listen as marketers to figure out, okay, well, what do they know that we don't? And then how do we leverage it? And so that's a lot of, part of the stories when I'm out talking to people is, talking about, those elements, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I love it. Honestly, I was blown away because you find me in a restaurant when restaurants were open. I was literally like closer, further, trying to just scan the QR code on the menu. And then sometimes the restaurant's dark, so I have to pull out my flashlight and I can't scan it to get the menu. So I feel like just walking up to the restaurant. Oh, there you go. I
Well,
was just,
no, to your point. So I'm doing these for MGM, and I went
oh, I
into
love it.
so this is they're putting on the MGM's putting this on the tables, right? But to your point, MGM, whatever location you're at, there's a lot of the elements, right? Lighting, shading. You're inside of a bar, and so you're kind of going like this. It's a pain in the butt. Whereas you can just tap it now, and then it launches automatically. So yeah, so
Love it.
that's like the nuance. Like people, I'll talk to clients like, why don't we just use a QR code? And you're like, well, there's nuances to it, not only from the opening up the camera element to then the shading, and then also from a brand perspective, it's kind of ugly. So you're kind of infringing upon the artwork of that brand. And so that's where this NFC is like now you see it's just in my icon. It's like literally part of the
Right.
design of the shirt. And it is a little bit more, kind of cooler and slicker, right, from a design perspective.
Love it. And contact actually has to happen, or is it kind of like Apple Pay? It's close, but not
Apple
contact
Pay, yeah, it's
actually.
about anywhere from a half an inch to maybe an
Okay.
inch. So yeah, it's not, but that's also part of the value. It's intent based. So we'll talk to clients about marketing and advertising traditionally is impressions. Oh my God, we had this ad up here, and or when the next time I click on an ad on Facebook will be the last time I do it on purpose, right? It's like your intent's not there. Whereas what this is literally as you get close and you want to engage with it, it's I call the difference between productive and busy. So it's not busy is busy, like, oh cool, look at all this, but it's like, well, it's all junk. Whereas productive is like, okay, let's have authentic intent on how we get people to engage with us, right? So
Yeah,
that's where when I'm
absolutely.
talking to people, it's hey, if I tap the T-shirt, if I tap the menu, if I tap the wristband, like we're creating a really unique experience. So the data we get from that is authentic, it's valuable, it's intent based, and it's real. It's not just BS. It's not just frivolous that we can't do anything with other than maybe pump our chest up to say like, hey, we got 25,000 of X. It's like, well, again, it's kind of garbage, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
What about durability, Rich? Can I throw that shirt in the wash, or do you have to kind of take that pen off?
no. So this actually, I watched this. This is yeah. You wash it. You can put it. Actually, it can go up to 400 degrees. So literally, you
Wow.
can embed it inside of this, and this can be a patch. So we're talking about the Raiders here. This is a Howie Long, former Raider, longtime Raider. But this actually can be washed and dried, and actually also can be, if you put this on a backpack or a shirt, you have to heat it, right? 400 degrees to kind of adhere it to that item. So the chip itself is very durable. Only thing you can't do is you can't, put it on fire, right? Or you can't like pierce it, so you can't like cut it. But anything other than that, like we put them in dishwashers and cups. We like this cup here. It's inside of this cup, this tumbler right here. You can
Hmm.
tap this. So that's what's really cool about it as well. Is very durable. So the elements, whether it's outside, inside, rain, whether it's in clothing, and really there's no power to it because it's powerless until it touches the phone for a second, and then that creates its power. So there's no battery life. There's nothing to it. So the durability of it for you know 3, 5, 10 years is there. So that's also adds to the value of the technology, right?
That's amazing, man. And tell me you have a patent on this, please.
Well, it's interesting. It's almost like the technology itself like a cow, right? You can't patent hamburger meat, right? But you can patent the Big Mac, right? You can patent a Whopper, right? So there's a couple elements.
Gotcha.
We have a patent on a wristband. This is one of our wristbands, but it actually has panels that come out. If you see this
Uh-huh.
panel that pops out, so basically this is a design patent or utility patent, and so this has the technology in it. So there's a product we have that has it, and then the other part of it would be like the process of what the experience would be. And so
Yeah.
we're working on different things. And we also have some trade secrets and intellectual property around our platform that Tap to Interact I was telling you about. So there's some elements
Yeah.
there, that are protected, right,
Yeah.
from that
Blown
perspective. But
blown away, man. So many possibilities are going through my head right now, not just in marketing, but medicine possibly, or the medical field. I mean, you need HIPAA compliance probably and all that, but yeah, this is I'm super
yeah,
excited for you, man. So who are you actually? It seems like you're working with alcohol brands, sports. Um, do you have a specific actually target, like market or specific industry that you like working with? I mean, you have the Raiders gear in the background, so I'm guessing sports, but sports teams. And you also mentioned MGM casino, so kind of a wide variety.
Yeah.
But
Well,
which one are you actually targeting, or which one sees the most value out of it?
yeah, before COVID, we were, doing a lot of stuff for events. So it was more of kind of looking at the fan engagement. So I'm a big fan of sports and entertainment and music, and I think merchandise, whether you're talking about the concert T-shirt you buy or the hat you buy for your favorite team, you're a fan, right? You're fanatical. You're buying that merch because it's helping define who you are, where you spend your money, what you're aligned with. So in my head, it makes easy to say, well, if you create digital context around that item, the fan's going to tap it, they're going to interact with it, they're going to give you data, they're going to want stuff from the brand, and that's authentic, right? That's actually me opting in to become a more connected fan. So you as the brand or a sponsor who's sponsoring something, right? You're actually, I'm curating data for you on behalf of who I am as a fan. So to me, that made so much sense to go to the sports space, the entertainment, the festival music space. That's how I got into MGM, talking about that, and then MGM, because there was no events necessarily, turned into, well, how can we use this in the restaurants and bars to create more safety measures, right? So that kind of led to that. But right now, I just got a deal today, helping them create some materials for downloading the BetMGM app for sports betting.
Nice.
So you're starting to see that, sports betting become pretty big here. So they're looking for tools to get people to download the app. This becomes that ability to, hey, tap the sign inside of the sports book, tap this in your room, download the BetMGM app, and go to town, right? So yeah, a lot of it is that, but you also speak to the, one thing I'll speak to is I call it merchandise with purpose, and so we're doing things within the nonprofit and cause space. So this is a wristband for St. Jude, because you can actually tap this and give a donation. And so these whether it's a Lance Armstrong wristband or all these causes in the cause world, whether it's Komen or St. Jude, or they make a lot of merchandise, right? And because they're trying to sell it, or they want people to wear it to kind of represent that I'm supporting or trying to drive donations for kids with cancer or whatnot. And so I think there's a gap in that space of merchandise that doesn't do anything other than it's a T-shirt, right? So my idea, and we've built some programs, is merchandise with purpose, right? So it's like, hey, if you're going to be selling T-shirts or you're wearing the wristband around St. Jude, like that's got to be able to have an actionable opportunity to say to somebody else that I see at Starbucks or a buddy or whatever, like, hey, tap this to learn more about, whether one, become more educated about something, right? Number two, participate. Like I may know about it, but how do I get involved? Right. And number three is donate. And what are those three things? All that can be done on a phone, right? So it's tap here to do any of these three things. So we made one here around social justice.
Love it.
And so this actually is a heart, and it's like tap into love. And so if you tap into this, it would then bring you to a site to get involved in social justice. So I'm talking with entities and groups about that. So I kind of go a little bit of it can go a lot of different areas, just like you spoke to, whether it's medicine, but I try to either do it from fan side or go to these causes or nonprofits and say, look, any T-shirt you have now that's not doing this is not a waste of money, but you're not maximizing what that T-shirt should do. That T-shirt should drive action, right? That T-shirt should drive education. That T-shirt should drive donations. And if that person who's wearing it isn't a beacon of opportunity to get that message out, then that T-shirt you bought, isn't as smart as what I can do for you, right? Which is, these other elements, right? So,
Yeah.
And I'm kind of passionate about that because whatever, I'm 48, I want to make stuff that people buy because they want to enjoy themselves and have fun. But I also want to do something that is impactful, right? That can help amplify something good. And I just see a gap in that space of merch and materials and print that's being used to support causes and other things. And it's not as amplified or opportunistic as it can be, right? So I have some passion around, working with organizations and saying, look, it's almost like I also have a T-shirt called Merchandise Smarter, right? Which is, hey, your merchandise should be smart. It should be driving, really the core of who you are as a brand, an entity, a company, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
that's
no question.
some thoughts there.
No, love it. I'm blown away, my man. So, but let's talk a little bit about impactful. I mean, end of day, we're California boys, and COVID, everything that's happening right now. End of day, there's still that touch element. Did you have any sort of concerns? I mean, we all had concerns when COVID hit, of course, but from your business side specifically, people have to be outdoor in order to tap. We're kind of all quarantined these days. So, has COVID impacted your business in a negative way at all?
Well, it has, but I think what is a necessity drives innovation, right? And so I think I tried to, I've had some level of success with it. I tried to kind of look at this market as what I call at-home EXP, which is the at-home experience, right? And so all of us now, whether you're streaming a concert, you're a gamer and you're on Twitch, or you're a sports fan watching your sports at home. Well, now you're at home. So what does that opportunity create for brands? Well, you can't go to a venue anymore, but you're at home. So I can actually create this at-home experience for you. So part of this specific idea for the 49ers was instead of doing the real race they do at the stadium where they go and raise money and you're doing the race at Levi Stadium, they now did a virtual event. So the virtual event was every week for 49 days. There was an activity for fans to do, and they signed up. And when they signed up, they got a wristband. And so the wristband became now part of your at-home experience with the 49ers weekly. And so the idea there is now you created a piece of merch that literally was created a connected point between you and the online experience, right? Which was this virtual race, but it also created a physical element that can still kind of have you feel connected to something, right? And because you could tap it with your phone, and all of this merchandise is in the cloud. So it's not like it's one time and it's done, like, okay, there's nothing left to do with it. It can change and evolve every week. So now there's reason and there's purpose for you to tap it weekly because it's going to facilitate a new experience, right? Or a continued experience, right? So to answer your question, this at-home genre is interesting. I just had a call the other day with the San Francisco Giants, the guy that runs ticket sales for them. And he's like, yeah, we don't know what COVID's going to look like in April. We're in California, like you said, a lot stricter than other states. So what can we do for the at-home fan? What are we going to do to support ticket sales and other sponsorship activities and to sell more merchandise on our team store? How do we create that connection, right? And so part of the meeting, a lot of the meeting on my side was like, well, if a fan bought a wristband or was given to them as a season ticket holder, and now the seventh inning of every Friday night game, they could tap the wristband the seventh inning, and there's some sort of promotion or selfie contest or something, right? Now you have an asset, right, that literally you can use with that individual fan that can complement what they're doing because they're not at the stadium, right? Or they're not at the venue. Actually, I call it, I was coming up with some interesting names from the stadium to the sofa, right? My other one was from retail to the recliner, right? Because you have this physical element, but then you're at home now. You're on a recliner from concert to the couch. So I try to have fun with that. I don't take myself too seriously. So sometimes I'll come up with some crazy ideas and, test it out. But that's kind of the idea, right? I call it at-home EXP. And so now it's this, hey, I'm at home. I'm watching something. I still want to be engaged. I still want an experience. What are you doing as the brand? What are you doing to kind of, allow me to, do something a little bit more innovative and dynamic than just sitting there watching a screen?
Yeah, no question. I love it, man. The fact that you're having fun with it, creating like that. And, I mean, you're probably the only guy I know that has Niners gear and Raiders gear in the same house too. So you're clearly an open-minded guy that likes to have a good time. Love it.
I'm a Raider fan. I'm not really a Niner fan necessarily, but actually I was on Patrick Willis's team. So I had a Patrick Willis shirt and I was sharing it on Instagram. And one of my buddies is like, are you selling out or what? Look at you. You're in all Niners gear. I was like, yeah, you're like, hey man, it's business. You gotta do what you gotta do. But it was pretty, to your point, pretty funny wearing I guess it'd be worse if I became like if I did this for the Broncos or for the Kansas City Chiefs. That'd be a lot worse.
Too soon. And last question for you, Rich. Once again, blown away with all the success, blown away by the technology. I definitely want to learn more about that. But one of my favorite questions I ask all of my guests is, if you had to go back and give advice to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell younger Rich Stein?
Jeez, run for the hills. Run for the hills. Go learn something else.
Come on, 30 years later, look at you smiling, making all sorts of nomenclature, starting your own company. I'm sure you did
Yeah,
something
yeah. I mean,
right.
other than I guess do the same things you were doing. I mean, I don't, know if I would have known this back then. I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe it would have been go get in one of those companies where the stock would have been would have been better in terms of
Buy
trying to.
Amazon, buy Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly on that. But yeah, I mean, from a I mean, as much as it's up and down being an entrepreneur and, having, for gosh, 18 years now, I've never had a paycheck other than on what I've earned. So there's a certain amount pride in that. And it's, you think back of it, like, it's pretty scary knowing that you only, you only make money if you sell something. Right. And a lot of pressure there. So, it's interesting, but yeah, I know it's a great question. I don't know if I have a really great answer other than, find the one where there was stock. But at the end of the day too, it's like, as you can see, hopefully I try to have fun with this and I don't take myself too serious. I'm on TikTok now. I was doing TikTok videos and Instagram, and I just try to be fun, and I've always try to make people laugh or smile, not take themselves too seriously. So when I'm trying to deal with companies and I'm trying to get in with people who are, I try to say little things like, look, you're not curing cancer. So, be a little more open-minded and have a little more fun with things, because unless you are curing cancer, then, I'll leave you alone. But if you're not, don't take yourself too seriously, right? Some of these people that you're selling to or trying to sell to is like, they're just so like, I guess they have a
Yeah.
lot of pressure, of course. But anyway,
Yeah. I
again,
hear you, man. I mean, that's great advice, honestly. Don't take yourself too seriously. Sometimes we take ourselves seriously to a point where no one else takes you seriously. And, it's kind of counterproductive. So I think that's great advice for an 18-year-old.
yeah. Well, and also too, well, one thing I was on a webinar the other day, and we were talking about it's just business methodology or mentality, right? And so back when I was doing the long distance phone service, I worked for a no name internet phone company, right? But we were competing against MCI, AT&T, Sprint. So you'd walk into one of these high rises, and you'd be assertive enough to get them to bring out their phone bill, right? And back then, again, not a lot of competition. AT&T would be maybe charging them. Let's say they were calling overseas, and it was like $5 a minute because they were calling, Japan, and and you'd be like 85 cents a minute, right? And then you basically say, look, AT&T is overcharging you. Of course, they're not going to change give you the better rate. And then, a week later, you'd call into the guy and like, hey, I want to, talk to you about, the phone bill I uncovered and how you were being overcharged. And he's like, oh, I called AT&T up and they matched the rate you were going to give me. Right. And then you'd be like, well, what are you talking about? If I didn't come in there and below the whole operation, you would have never known this was happening. And they would just be like, it's just business. You'll get used to it. It's just business. And even then, AT&T, I was like, that's kind of dirty, right? Like, I came in, I should be rewarded for showing you this and earning the opportunity to do business with you. And now you really just went back to the guy who was kind of screwing you and just let them match it. And they weren't going to change it unless you came back and questioned it. And that happens all the time now. Even, you'd call DirecTV to get the NBA package. And because you've been getting it at $110 a month, now they have a special $50 a month. And then you call them up like, I should be getting $50 a month. And they're like, well, you're a current customer. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Right. So it's, those lessons. But we were just talking about, it's just business. And that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's not just business. It's, and we've seen the world get ugly here in the last couple of years. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to decide who and what you want to be and how you want to approach and yourself and, and other people in the space. And so, that's one thing that resonated, but I didn't change. I didn't become, and now I'm also a decision maker because I buy materials, right? It's not just I'm just selling to people. So I try to be cognizant of that as well. People are trying to sell to me and, kind of be more understanding, but
yeah, absolutely.
That,
Yeah, no question, man. I hear that term a lot, actually. It's not personal, it's just business. And always kind of rubs me the wrong way too, to be honest, because I think the most successful people in this world, and I think this is statistically proven, are sensitive. They really take things to heart. I guess the reaction really defines their success. But having that nature of, kind of a betrayal in a way of like, I spent time with you. I dedicate time is very precious, right? That's all we really have. I took time with you and you still kind of went that way for you to just say it's just business. So I always ask is, what if the roles were reversed? Would you say the same exact thing?
Yeah.
If I actually walked into that high rise, reviewed that bill, did the benchmark, put together all that stuff for you, and then you came back, would you still think it's just business?
Yeah.
And I actually get good responses around that. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, but I obviously, as we both know, being sales, you gotta have thick skin. It's kind of funny because you have to be, I wouldn't say arrogant, but you have to be like extremely confident. But then you're also kind of paranoid and obsessive because you have to, always uncover every stone and really anticipate what people might be thinking. And it's like sometimes people just don't tell you anything, right? It's like, oh well, I didn't use you because of X. You're like, well, I could have answered that. Why don't you just tell me that? Like, why are you afraid to? And then we talked about ghosting before I think, started recording. Just the ghosting, right? Of you meet with someone, you have like, I still find it crazy today. Like, I'll meet with someone, I'll educate them all this, I'll send them a nice email with thoughts, and they don't even respond back. Like, hey, thanks for the demo. Let me see how this might work, or check back with me here. It's like they just move on to the next thing. You're like, again, you have to be confident, and water off a duck's back is where you have to be. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
too, we're all people, right? We all want to feel like we're valuable, and when we spend time with someone, that there's respect and reciprocity there. And sometimes
yeah.
when that doesn't happen, that's part of being a lonely sales guy. Is you just get like, oh man, you just gotta pick yourself up the next day and try to be positive,
Yep. Amen.
right?
But I will tell you one thing, man, and you nailed this earlier. You said, don't take yourself too seriously, try to have fun with it. I always say people with a sense of humor are my absolute favorite because they actually know how to enjoy life, and life is short. You got to live it. So don't ever lose that, Rich, please.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Well, the funniest thing was we still laugh today, back at those cold calling days where, one of the things you asked about, like kind of the methodology, right? And one real funny thing was they would tell you, and this they train you, they would say, when you go to the receptionist, tell them I made it a point to stop by and see the business owner. And they're like, well, when you say that really quick, it sounds like you have an appointment. So the secretary thinks that you said, "Oh, I have an appointment." They go get the CEO or the president or whatever, the owner, and they come out and they're kind of perplexed a little bit. But you got them out in front of in the lobby, and now it's your time to shine. To, in 15 seconds, tell them why you want to meet with you. So we'd always say, "Oh, I made it a point to stop by," and I made it a point to stop by, and it was just always funny. It's like, well, who cares if you made it a point to stop by? Like, we don't even know who you are. Well, no, I made it a point to stop by. And then they would walk out, and then you're like, no, and they'd be like, we have an appointment. You're like, no, 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 I said I made it a point to stop by. And then sometimes they'd be pissed and they're like, get out of here. You're like a young kid, like, get out of here with your suit on and thinking you're all slick. Like, well, no, like, you just didn't, like, get your phone bill out. I want to see if you can save money on long distance phone service. And so I still have buddies today that we were back in that, and then we always laugh like, hey, man, at a point to stop by. And
Just drop by randomly, say hello.
yeah, you would, and that was the thing, is like, now that I think about it, you'd walk in unannounced. They didn't have time slotted for you to be there. You're kind of a disruption because you're just walking in, right? And at the end of the day, you're talking about their phone bill, which is part of their expenses, but probably not a huge element that they're that worried about, right? And you just be like, acting like you're, running the show when you walk in there. And again, that's where after like a year and a half, you can't look yourself in the mirror anymore, because I can't walk into someone else's office and have that look of like disdain and look of puzzlement of like, who are you and why are you here? And then so eventually, but you did have to like laugh at it, because what else could you do? You have to at least laugh and think it's funny and have a good time with it, or else you'd probably be crying, right?
A lot of crying happens in sales. I've seen it.
Right, which there's which that happened as well, right? A lot of crying.
Absolutely. I know I said last question before, but I'm going to ask you one last question. Your top, or one of your top goals for 2021 is?
Man, amplification and optimization.
Oh,
Interesting words, but basically, I did a little post the other day and on LinkedIn, just kind of talking about one approach I'm taking with clients, hopefully, is optimism and optimization. So optimism is, around the vaccine, around the changing of the national leadership, and knowing that all of us who have been on the sidelines for 9 months, not knowing what we're going to do, and how the world's going to be. At least now there's some optimism. One, again, because we're going to have leadership who's actually going to pay attention to getting us back out there, and two, vaccine, which is going to hopefully bring safety and positive public health. So now we know we can start planning, right? And I'm in the event space, and the event physical interaction space, and it's really important to know that, okay, we can now start planning for that. And optimization relates to, again, we've been on the sidelines for 9 months, so anything we do next year has to be 5 times the amount of opportunity for us. So money we spend when we try to engage with somebody, when we're at an event, when we're doing merchandise, all these things, it's got to do 5 times the amount of what it did before. And that's kind of leading into what I do, which is, if anybody's doing anything, it's like, well, how do you optimize this? And optimization is, the mobile, it's digital, it's interactive. That kind of speaks to, of course, what I'm doing. So I'm trying to go out there and hopefully be a beacon of, look, I can help you optimize in a number of different areas of your business and what you're trying to achieve and accomplish from an engagement perspective. And there's not a lot of people like me, I think, that have kind of created this infrastructure. And so, again, as you asked the question, kind of looking at, one, being optimistic and going out there and saying, look, because I've seen, you asked me if I've been on, some podcasts, and a lot of times podcasts or panels, and everyone's talking about the problems that we're having. And I don't think a lot of them are saying, well, here's the solution, or here's a solution of here's what this can be and how this can approach the safety measures of COVID, not wanting to touch stuff when you go out. How do you manage traffic and the physical space to know there's still, limited amount of people inside this area versus the other. And then if we do spend money, how do we, make that more of a worthwhile experience, right? And that's, a lot of things that I'm trying to achieve and accomplish around my business relate to those things.
Awesome. Well, I'm super impressed, bud. I really appreciate you taking the time once again. Congratulations on the company. I'm honestly blown away by the product. Definitely want to catch up more around that, because I feel like there's a lot of ways it could go, a lot of different directions, and a lot of value that it could bring. So continue crushing out there, brother, and let's stay in touch. All right.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Have a good one.